videos out on Wednesday and Sunday. And this past Sunday, I let you know that I would be putting a video out on Wednesday talking about the condominium blacklist that's out there. A lot of people don't know about it, and they don't realize that it's going to affect their ability to not only buy a condo if they're bringing financing, but also it's very significant to a seller. So I was going to put this video out on Wednesday, but having shown property, Fort Myers, Florida, Venice, Florida, all weekend long, and running across the problem of no financing being available essentially over and over and over, I thought, you know what, I need to get this video out now so that people really have the real scoop on this, because every single weekend people fly in to look at property in Florida. I have so many people that are kind of in my what I call pipeline right now. People that I send property to all the time. They're getting ready, they're getting educated, they're kind of getting to know the landscape to figure out where it is they want to buy in Florida. But this is one of those things that's come up that's new that I personally have to go in and dig and make sure that they're not put in a position where they're going to waste things like a $50,000 deposit, or not only a deposit, but also building inspection money. We don't want anybody wasting money. And if you're looking at buying a condo, especially in Florida, you really have to be working with an agent that understands all this and is educated on all of it up to the minute. I cannot believe how quickly things are changing. So what is this condominium blacklist? I'm going to read directly from this attorney's website. So there were two attorneys that discovered this secret blacklist, one from Boston, one from Florida, and I'm going to read from one of their websites. So what is the condo blacklist? There is a list of condominiums and cooperatives around the country which have been deemed unfit and ineligible to qualify for conventional mortgage loans. Being on the blacklist makes buying and selling individual units in these associations using conventional financing virtually impossible, which I agree with. With such burdensome limitations on lending, the values of the homes in the blacklisted communities can and do suffer significantly. So we have always known that it's almost impossible to bring an FHA loan to a condominium, at least in Florida. It's just almost impossible to do it, and people don't realize that. They get a pre-approval, they think they can go buy a very little money down condominium, and it's just not possible to do it. The financing will fall through almost every single time. But what we've always been able to fall back to is to say, well, if you can put 20% down, if you can put 25% down, you should be in good shape. No, not anymore. And that is what is the big difference. And that is what's affecting these sellers and buyers so significantly. So think about this. You're already a seller that you can't afford to stay, but you can't figure out a way to go. So you go ahead, let's just say you bought your retirement condo on Venice Island, Florida. You love it there, but the fees keep going up. And then your engineer's report came in and your building was built in 1965 and you love it. And you don't mind the low popcorn ceilings, and you don't mind the ceiling fans hanging with the chain. You don't mind any of that because you have a beautiful little water view and you planned to stay there for the rest of your life. You're 71 years old. You and your wife love it there. But those fees keep going up and up and up. So what happens? The engineer's report comes in and it says, we're really sorry. We don't have near enough in the reserves. We have a lot of these things that need to be repaired and corrected for your safety. And I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, but your fees that were at $380 a month and you are on a budget and you're in retirement, your fees are now going to be $710. You don't have a way to make up that gap. You cannot bridge that gap. So you decide to put your property on the market. So you do that reluctantly. and you have to continue to reduce the price, because not only you are experiencing that problem, everyone else is around you at every other condominium complex on Venice Island or Fort Myers or wherever it may be. Everybody else, your competition, is experiencing this same issue. So it's bringing everybody's ask price way down. The problem with it is the buyer has to be cash. Why? Because they can't do the conventional loan anymore. Why? Because of the secret blacklist that's out there that says no on the conventional loan. So I say this all the time. You have to work with an agent that understands all this and is very up to date on all these changes, because they come fast and furious, let me tell you. So if you are looking for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a water view, and you can spend, let's just say, $400,000, and your agent is sending you all of these properties and not warning you that, hey, pick what you like, but then I'm going to need to go in and hand pick what will hold financing. You have to know that, because if your agent does not know that, which this is relatively new, if your agent doesn't know that and you go under contract and you don't check these things, you could waste thousands of dollars that you cannot get back, because what will happen is you won't be turned down as the buyer, but the unit will be turned down. And essentially, if the unit is turned down, then every unit in that complex is going to be turned down, because you can't do financing in it. Many listing agents don't know that, so they don't put it. Like personally myself, if I know that a building will not hold financing, then I'm going to put in the MLS cash only. And if the agent, the buyer's agent, doesn't understand why, they can always call me and I'm going to explain why. You cannot bring a loan, because I don't want to see anybody waste their money. So if you're a buyer that is flying in to look at property, which happens all weekend long in Florida, we don't want to waste your time. If I'm sending you properties and you've got 6 or 7 and you're going to fly in next week, we are scanning through those properties to make sure that if you're bringing a loan, we're going to make sure that that building is actually even financeable, because why waste your time looking at something that you can't buy? Now, one thing I do want to clear up, because there are some videos out on blacklisted condominiums. First of all, let me just tell you that a couple questions that I think are worth answering that I've seen as misinformation out there in the YouTube world. So this is not only Florida, this is US, this is all over the United States. And there are right now, as of the filming of this video, about 2,700 condominium communities on that blacklist. Second thing I want to clear up. FHA does not mean first-time home buyer. I don't know where that came from. I don't know if like F and H, first-time home, I don't know what people think the A means, but it is not first-time home buyer. An FHA loan is for anybody that's trying to put less money down, essentially. And the rules, the guidelines are a little bit more lax with FHA. You can have a little bit of credit dings, not a lot, but a little bit of credit dings. And then your debt ratio can be a little bit higher than conventional. Also, less money down. That's the big thing, is that many buyers, and some, many times it's a first-time home buyer, but it doesn't have to be. If you're on your 4th home and it falls under those guidelines of Fannie Mae, you can use an FHA loan, absolutely. Another thing that I hear all the time that's totally wrong is that you can only use FHA once, and I guess that's that first-time home buyer thing. Also not true. The other thing I want to clear up is that it is essentially impossible in Florida to get an FHA loan in a condominium. It's just, by the time the questionnaire comes in, which is, without going into that, it's something the lender is going to require, it's going to get denied. And a lot of times you're pretty far along in the process. Delays can happen with HOAs. They don't fill it out on time, even though they're required to. But when that happens, you can lose money. And I don't want to see anybody lose money, which is why I bring this up. And then the last thing I want to say about FHA, I've also seen people on YouTube say that Fannie Mae lends their own money. That is not true. In fact, you know what? I'm going to type this in and let me go directly to the site, and I'll just read it to you. Fannie Mae is a leading source of mortgage financing in the United States. We don't originate mortgage loans or lend money directly to the borrowers. Instead, we purchase mortgage loans made by lenders who are then able to use those funds to offer mortgage loans to more people. So they partner with the lenders. And I guess the reason I explain that is the problem is these lenders make money by selling the loans on the back end. So if they can't sell the loan, they don't make money, they don't want to do the deal. So what ends up happening in this entire process is that they don't want the loan if they can't make money on it. So if you're trying to bring an FHA, a VA, or now a conventional loan to buy a condo, it's virtually impossible to get it done. Now, let me tell you about the other problem that I thought of that I don't hear anybody talking about. What if I talk about this all the time, the date the rate, marry the house, date the rate, marry the condo. Okay, let's say you did that and you got in up there at your top level. And let's say that you closed your deal at 8.5% interest and then the rates dropped down to 7%. Is that worth it for you to refinance? Yes, refinance that. So here you are, you go to refi. You know what I'm going to say? You can't refi. It is not only purchases, it is also refinance. So if you fell victim to date the rate, marry the condo, you're in trouble. Because if now your condominium complex has been added to the blacklist, maybe when you bought it 2 years ago, a year ago, 6 months ago, maybe when you bought it, it was not on that blacklist, but now it is. You can't refi. You are stuck with that rate you thought you were dating. Nope, it's yours now. So what are my options? What if I don't have cash? What do I do? Well, you could, I'm not telling you to do this, but you could do a HELOC, a home equity line of credit, on the house you own up in Michigan, and you could pull cash out, you could come down to Florida, and now you're a cash buyer. Would that be a benefit to you? It could be, because do you think there's a whole lot of really motivated condominium owners out there that are like, I can't afford to stay, but I can't figure out how to go, and you show up with a bag of cash? Do you think you might be able to get a really good buy on that? If you're somebody that says, you know what, they already had their engineer's report, make sure you're working with a good agent that's going to find that out. But let's say they already had their engineer's report and you say, okay, this is the worst of it. This should be the worst of it. The fees are $700 a month. I know they jumped from $310 to $700, but I'm okay. I can swing the $700. If you're willing to sell me this $400,000 condo for $295,000, then I'm in. I'm willing to do it. Do you think there's many people out there that might give you a really good deal? I think there's some people out there that would give you a really good deal. I think there's a lot of people that are maybe in their 75, 85-year-old range, and they're like, you know what? If we have to take a hit like that, then we'll spend the rest of our years on earth. We're going to go back to where we came from. Maybe they're going back to Michigan. We're going to live out a happy life. We only paid $65,000 for this condo, so if we can get $295,000 for it, we wanted to get $400,000, but you know what? Let's just take this because it could get a lot worse. And the truth of the matter is, it could get worse. Now, you might say, all right, I want to know where it is. Where is the blacklist? I want to see it. I want to read it. Is it public? Is it online? Here's the thing, it is not. It is not made public. It is truly secret. We know that it exists, so what we have to do is get with the lender and have them dig. They have to go through a process to see if it's possible at all to put financing on these condominiums. Now, the one you can see is the FHA list. That is public. That I will put below for you. In fact, I'm going to load up the description box down below with a lot of information to help you get familiar with all of this, because I know this is a lot to absorb, and truly we are just scraping the surface of these problems. So I will link some resources for you down below in the description box. Let me know your questions. I'm sure we're going to have 2, 3, 4 follow-up videos to this one, because there are so many buyers for condos in Florida. But like I said, this is not only Florida, this is nationwide. So I hope this was helpful for you. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll talk to you in the next couple days for another video.